Are you kidding me? That's what?
Yeah, every so often it happens that Ryan is right.
100% right. Not even a little bit right.
Tucker Pullman, 2 points last game.
No kidding.
My man!
Hey, neither does me running shirtless, but that turned out very well. Welcome to the PP1 Podcast. Heck yeah, it's the PP1 Podcast with mugs. Now in living color with mugs. You got a mug over there? You got a mug over there. That's good coffee. That's good coffee. As the intro says, welcome to the PP1 Podcast. I'm going to say I'm your host just because sometimes people need to know that. Maybe this is the first time you're listening. This is Ryan Hank. To my screen right, good buddy who instantly has a better mustache than I do, Ted Wong. How you doing?
I wouldn't say instantly. This is just on my upper lip. It doesn't. Yours has got a mind of its own. It curls up. You can do things with it. It's got length and girth to it.
Yours is just perfect right off.
Mine's just a patch of grass. Yeah,
it's a pretty nice patch of grass. I must say.
No Ryan Hank fame.
Okay, well, whatever. We are partnered with the Dean Blundell Network and Move Health and Wellness. We'll get to those guys a little bit later. Always a good time to have them around. Dr. John was pretty rad last week, hey?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's always informative, you know? Yeah,
I mean, his podcast events with us are kind of like the way he plays sports, right? He's a super charismatic guy. You can tell he knows what's going on and people want to listen to what's up.
I like John. He's a good guy, does good work. So this has been a pretty interesting week on how do I say this? It's been an interesting week for body sculpting, if you will. You posted this photo today. Man, you're a gorgeous dude. Like, you didn't show your hammies, thank goodness. But
like, because they just fell off the bone completely. Yeah,
you're getting back into Ted shape, which it's a shame that we can't have you on the ball field because you're an absolute beauty. You missed a good game on Monday, let me tell you.
I heard you pitched a gem. Yeah.
23-15 isn't exactly a gem, but
the office was a buzz. Hey, like a 15-run ERA is like pretty good. It's
not bad. Yeah, it's not bad. I held a guy. He was one hit away from the cycle, and it was top of 7. And we're back and forth. We were joking the whole game because he took me yard on like his first at bat. Absolutely, just laser beam. Almost hit the house too up at East Kelowna. And so we're back and forth. Then he gets a double. Then he gets a triple. So his last at bat, we both know. I said, you know what you're going for, and so he decided he was going to sky one and try to just let it fall so he could get a single. I run like a circle backwards from the mound, which is bold saying it because slow pitch is flat. Anyway, managed to make the catch out my arm, get him out. He doesn't get his cycle. Struck out a guy who hadn't been struck out all season. He actually said, "Well done." So it's nice when you get a congratulations like that. But back to body sculpting. We saw your photo. I'm just going to show it one more time. There's Ted, absolute machine. This guy. I did some sculpting myself. I've been in the gym. I've been keeping this secret. Let's just have a peek at my abs. Whoa. Absolute crisp 6-pack right there.
Shaped so evenly,
perfectly formed in hair. It's just a keg underneath that.
So. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't do that.
I'm glad you didn't. It's probably for the best. You're a better looking gentleman than I. So folks, Manscaped, that body's by Manscaped. I didn't know if we want to get that out of the way, but we'll chat about them in a bit. We've got a really fun episode this week. We were going to get to that in a bit. It's the Canucks Multiverse. We're going to be talking about what if Wayne Gretzky actually was a Canuck. But before we get that, we're going to have a little bit more fun. Saw this. I don't know if you saw this. You've been a pretty busy guy this week. Have you seen this jersey online? Totally legit, right?
Yeah. That looks legit-ish.
Pretty much the same one they wore in 94.
That's a good arts and crafts jersey.
It's like if you had the colors available and all the other pieces from another jersey. And
if the amount of color that you put on there doesn't match up, it just matters that it's the correct color.
just ugh, just
It's the equivalent of not staying in the lines.
it's just hideous. So I don't know
Where
why
did that come
people.
from? Was someone trying to sell that, or what's?
Someone had that. Yeah, it was on like Twitter was
Ugh,
posting. Someone had it from their Facebook shop and swap
oof.
or something like that. That's atrocious.
Yeah, that's
Like,
a bad one.
We've seen some bad ones in our day, but that. Let's see that one again. That takes
The
the
size
cake.
of the yellow is just like what is happening?
Oh,
It
and you
just
can
looks
see
like
you see the fight strap in there.
I do. Yeah, I can see it's there.
So it has to be legit. The
Dude,
2
it's got
points
the
for
2 points
terrific.
FG. Yeah,
That looks like it's a billboard on the shoulder there.
the Canuck Place logo. Yeah, like it's got everything. Stanley Cup final. I mean, it says right there, Stanley Cup final. So it must be real.
I'd be surprised if it
Do
wasn't.
that, or somebody's got a super talented grandmother.
Very, yeah.
I remember when we were going through Cup Run. Obviously, you would know. You were there. You were working in the city when this was going on. So everyone and their dogs were coming in for Canucks jerseys and stuff like that.
Right.
This dude rolls in here with he's got a Canucks jersey on, but it's lime green in some parts, and then forest green and others. Like this was pretty early on. Like they were making fakes back then, but they weren't really good yet, right? Like now they're making fakes really good, where from a distance it's difficult to tell.
There was a time where they were awful.
Yeah, this was like phase 1 fake, right? And so the guy does the classic, like, how much are these? Like the price is on the jersey. It's very apparent that it's $210.
Yeah.
If
you have glasses, sir, if you need them,
it's full store, right? Like he's just totally trying to be like a complete dickhead, right? It says it's so loud, everybody stops talking. How much are these? It's like they're $210, man. Like I know where this is going. It's like, oh, $210. See this right here? And I was like, oh, that's great, man. Did you make that yourself? Like, that's fantastic.
Here we go. We go.
So it's like $69. And I was like, and then some other complete rando, like an older gentleman was like, yeah, it looks like you paid $69. Probably overpaid for that thing. But
Man.
It was phenomenal. Just anyways, he was coming in being such a dickhead, and the whole store where the customers just lit him up. I didn't even have to do anything. It was phenomenal.
Sometimes that's the best, hey, when you really want to say something, but I'm going to let the people take care of this one. Because, like, why? And there's only one type of person that does this. But when you walk in and you really start, like, puffing your chest out there, like, hey, man, you're coming into a place where we're selling legitimate clothing, apparel here. Clothing and apparel, the same word, I'm aware. What looks real to you, sir? Which one of these two would you say looks like the real one?
Yeah, probably the same guy who bought his wife the cubic zirconia diamond.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Little League World Series is on right now, and we've all seen the little, favorite athlete or favorite food or favorite movie star. Like there's the one dude, Alexis Texas was his favorite. These kids are like 10. Maybe mom and dad need to screen who the form is written out to. There was, what was the dude? My name's whatever, and I hit big dingers or something like that.
Yeah,
remember that kid?
I remember that. That was an old one. Yeah.
There was a kid. They showed late last week. He was wearing like work gloves, and he hit like 2 dingers, like actual like. What are we talking? What's the brand I'm thinking of here?
Oh, like the baseball glove, like Spalding or
no, like shovel work gloves.
Oh,
like the yellow ones for
like the cat ones or whatever.
Yeah, like cat gloves. So he's rocking those, Jack and Dingers. Dude's all in. And then there's another like dream job. The one kid said he wants to be a chicken nugget tester. So what would be like your thing? Would you do like favorite like movie star? Would it be like
how old are the little leaguers again? I should probably like get myself in like the right state of mind.
They're like 10. Let's say they're like 10, 11, right?
Okay. Like dream job when I was
dream job, favorite movie star, athlete, whatever.
So yeah, dream job when I was 10. I remember this very vividly. The Superstore had just opened up like down the road for me, and I was like, super jealous of the fact that the price checkers got to wear rollerblades and skate around the store and check prices. Dream job when I was 10, price checker.
Price checker. Huh.
Yeah. Superstore
Yeah.
price checker. Yeah.
Okay,
Not
yeah, I
chicken.
do
It's not
remember.
chicken nugget tester, but I could feel like it was pretty good when I was 10.
Yeah, I think you might have that beat. I was gonna kind of go in a similar thing. My kids have been watching the show called Victorious. Have you ever seen the show?
I'm very aware of
Yeah, I've
Victorious,
seen
yeah.
every episode like 5 times. I'm pretty sure it's like 3 seasons long. It's just like burned into my brain. Ariana Grande in one episode was wearing, remember the moon shoes? Remember those? They were in the Sears catalog like every year.
Yeah.
They're like
yeah.
big like high foam.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about the episode on. Okay, I got you.
But that was Anyway,
Yeah.
in the episode, she was wearing these moon shoes jumping around, and I always wanted a pair. So I think maybe an astronaut, dream job astronaut.
I mean, that's like the go-to, right? Like I'm gonna be.
I want to get out of here.
If you're a kid in the States, like I want to be president,
an astronaut, and
I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a fighter pilot.
Yeah, I would like to be Tom Cruise, who gets to basically be all those things because he's done it all.
Yeah.
He's been an astronaut. I don't think he's been the president in any movies yet.
No,
pretty
I don't.
Close.
I don't think. Yeah.
Tropic Thunder. What was he in Tropic Thunder?
He was like the president of
a company.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's close. So maybe he has hit maybe Tom Cruise is hit for the cycle on acting jobs.
Well, that's so favorite actor when I was 10 was probably Tom Cruise. For sure. Favorite movie would have been like Days of Thunder. I love that movie.
Dick Trickle.
Yeah, Dick Trickle, man. Mellow Yellow, the Mellow Yellow car.
That was a great movie.
Yeah.
That was
what else would have been like Endless Summer would have been like a good one.
So I mean, 10 years old, Ninja Turtles would have been heavy in my rotation. So maybe a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah, maybe like a Ninja Turtle would have been good. Maybe I thought like the pizza boy delivery kid was like awesome too.
Yeah.
From Ninja Turtles, yeah.
It's funny, like you look at those jobs like, oh, like delivering pizzas, that'd be so rad. Now you
music
look at
back
it,
then. Maybe like Vanilla Ice, right?
Yeah.
Really, yeah. Because that was
Crisscross.
Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer. Yeah.
Crisscross, Bare Naked Ladies, Weird Al.
Yeah. And if you don't know, you're whack.
Wiggity, wiggity whack. So, yeah, I think those would be a lot of fun. But really, we all came here for one reason tonight, you and I. I mean, this is our home away from home. Maybe let's do this the real way. So, maybe you're listening to this while you're driving today or tomorrow, whichever day this happens to be. You're listening to the show. Maybe close your eyes right now. You're driving down there. Close your eyes.
You like the Wayne's World, like
yeah. So if you're driving, like close your eyes. It's safe. You're not going to hit anybody. Keep those eyes closed tight. Like really imagine Wayne Gretzky comes to the Canucks. Bob McCammon.
Like set the stage. Like it's
so.
It's
if we're all aware,
it's 1996.
Your eyes are still closed, everyone. You're still driving. Your eyes are closed. I promise nothing bad's going to happen. Don't sue us if something does. So there was rumors that the Canucks were going to get Wayne Gretzky a few years prior in around just after the Stanley Cup, after they lost. Instead of him going to St. Louis, there was a chance that he might get traded to Vancouver. Didn't end up happening. There's a story out there. You can go check it out. So he plays his contract in St. Louis, and he's going to be a free agent. The Canucks, night before this happens, have a deal verbally where Wayne Gretzky is going to be Wayne freaking Gretzky, the great one, greatest hockey player of all time. Dixon Ward, I'm so sorry. Anyway, he says, I will sign the contract in the morning. Pat Quinn, no problem. Steady Eddie. We'll do it in the morning. Absolutely. We're going to have Wayne Gretzky playing for this team. Awesome. Bob McCann says, no way. You need to get him to sign the deal tonight. He goes, no. He said he's going to do it tomorrow. It's Wayne Gretzky. If you've seen any documentary or if you've seen the story of Wayne Gretzky, I mean, this guy is about as loyal as it comes. Like, Wayne is the guy. He is. He's going to sign that contract. No. We got to sign him tonight. We got to make sure this happens. It needs to be. No. So anyway, as the story goes, Wayne gets kind of pissed. Things start falling apart. he doesn't sign with the Vancouver Canucks and in fact goes to the New York Rangers.
Why does Wayne get pissed? Do you remember?
I think just because they were so pushy and like he wouldn't, basically wouldn't take him at his word. And I mean,
Like the Canucks wouldn't?
Yeah.
Huh.
So McCammon was pushing this. Pat Quinn was mad because obviously this all fell apart, right? So Wayne Gretzky doesn't go to the Canucks. Never happens. And we get Mark Messier instead. This is where you hopefully open your eyes, because in horror, hopefully you haven't gotten a car accident yet listening to this. And we all know how that goes. Now, don't get me wrong. Because of Mark Messier, certain things are set in place. We eventually get Todd Bertuzzi. Nazem still comes. Eventually, West Coast Express, which turns into the Sedin era, which turns from Bertuzzi into Roberto Luongo, which turns into the greatest Canucks team ever made. Blah, 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 blah. All these things happen, right? All these things happen.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just dial it back. And what happens in the multiverse of the Canucks in an alternate universe? Not alternate. Would it be alternate or parallel?
It's an alternate universe.
An alternate universe. Okay, thank you. I'm glad
it's the multiverse. Yeah.
Yeah. That Wayne Gretzky actually signs with the Vancouver Canucks. So Pat Quinn overrides McCammon, says, no, this is what's going to happen. He will sign tomorrow. It's
Shut
Wayne
your damn
Gretzky.
mouth.
This, don't worry about it. I've got this. You hired me to do this job. And it happens. Big day, next day, Wayne is a Vancouver Canuck. Can you actually believe it? So this is insane, right? Because we've all talked about this, and I'm just going to get comfortable here. We've all talked about this, like the what ifs, right? There's so many what ifs, especially with the Canucks. Like how many different storylines potentially could have happened? Like the Dan Hamhuis, maybe he doesn't throw the hip check, or let's say Linden doesn't hit the post and scores a hat trick in Game 7, which would, I mean, that alone probably is the story for all time if that happens.
Yeah. The Lafayette post, yeah.
Or Lafayette post, I apologize. Well, Linden hit the post too, did he not? Or he missed the net, I think. Anyway, so that's one time. Or, as far as the Dan Hamhuis thing, or maybe the Canucks beat Minnesota in Game 7 instead of losing the way they did. Dan Kluche, what happens if he doesn't let in that goal? Like all these things, right? So we're going to look at Wayne Gretzky. And so what happens? He signs. We're all ecstatic. So I'm thinking, what happens right after that? Pretty close after Messier, and we got to kind of dial back and forth. So Messier comes, things get a little dicey. What happens with Pavel Bure? He goes, right? He goes out to Florida. So him and Wayne, they're kind of buds as far as hockey goes, right? Remember the All-Star thing in 2000, and like they respect each other as hockey players. McGillney's there. So now you've got Gretzky, you've got Bure, and you've got McGillney. I'm thinking Pavel Bure doesn't want to leave anymore because Wayne Gretzky is on this team. Am I right?
I mean,
theoretically,
ultimately, like in an alternate universe from that one, Bure ends up playing a couple of seasons with Wayne.
Yeah,
and loves it, right? I mean, in 96, 97. So yeah, what is it? 97. Gretzky goes his first years with the Rangers, puts up 72 assists.
He does okay.
97 total points, scores himself a cool 25 goals. But imagine him playing alongside the Russian Rocket, who's capable of popping 50 in any year. Not to mention you got another player in Mogilny.
And did it in Florida.
Mm-hmm. Add on again to the fact that a young Marcus Naslund has been acquired on this team, which maybe doesn't happen because this trade happens. But a young Marcus Naslund is there. You got another guy who's a fairly prolific scorer in his time in Vancouver, Marty Jelena. There's some serious firepower here. I think the clout of having a Gretzky on this team versus what was this cloud of Messier turned into a cloud would have been significantly different.
It would have been so different. So not only do we look at what's on the ice, but now we start looking at a few things that were off the ice. So Naslund again comes over in that trade. You got to think that he's going to learn a few things. So imagine Naslund on a third line learning from these guys up front. Like we all know that Naslund, his talent progressed, obviously, became one of the better Canucks ever. You got to think that that's going to help. Then you look at the coaching situation. So because this happens, Tom Rennie is now the bench boss, right? Now, Gretzky comes. He plays out that first season. This is how I'm seeing this kind of happen. And I looked over of some of the coaches that are out there, and I thought, who would be a good coach to come over? Now, there's a guy in LA at the time, Larry Robinson, and I think he sees everything that's going on, and he decides, you know what? I really want to go coach this team, this Canucks team. So now you've got Larry Robinson coaching the Vancouver Canucks. You've got Gretzky, you've got McGillney, you've got Bure. I'm looking, they still had Hedekin at that point. So things are getting kind of crazy.
It's like McGillney, Bure, Gretzky, Hedekin.
Pretty much the same. Yerky Lume is still there. Yeah, it's funny how the talent does die off pretty quickly. So you've got a lot of talent up front, right? And now the Canucks are really building. That first year, obviously, it's gonna take some time to really catch stride. So 96, 97 doesn't really, or sorry, it was the 97 season that really gets going, right? So nothing really happens, but it's that next season where I see things going super crazy. They actually compete because now they've played a season together, right? They've got a full season under their belt, and now the Canucks are actually about to compete. So, and I want to get this right here. So, yeah, it was 96. It wasn't 96 and 97. I apologize. So, that first year in New York is now that first year in Vancouver. So, the second year, 97, 98 is when they actually compete. And the Detroit Red Wings are actually upset by the Canucks in 7. And
coached by Larry Robinson.
Coached by, exactly. Let's not forget that. And they actually go to the final against Washington. Now, this is crazy. So they lose out in 94, and they're trying to get things back there. And they had a pretty good team in 94. Not quite what this team looks like. So now in this alternate multiverse, the Canucks actually beat the Capitals in 6 games with an upstart, Mattias Ohlund, on the back end. Now, in this universe, Mattias Ohlund doesn't get an eye injury, and we actually see his full potential with 2 seeing eyes, basically. He was a pretty good defenseman with 1
Anyways,
and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we see Mattias Ohlund on this team, and I mean, obviously, we're all celebrating. I've kind of left all the hoopla and the craziness of it all that they actually win. But I think we've seen so many different versions of this team in our current universe that we live in, our current reality, that, you know what, for the sake of this show, they actually do flip the script, and Wayne Gretzky was actually the piece. So all the chaos that happened, and this team actually gets it done. But that's not even the whole story. So we take a little bullet point here. Where are you at on this? What are you thinking? Do you see this going a little bit differently? What do you see happening?
From what part?
Well, I mean, I kind of like absolutely.
I mean, you set the stage. Yeah, I mean, basically, I mean, where do we go from this? I mean, you've got the story like written here. I feel like, right? Like we've acquired Gretzky. We've still gone out and got Naslin, Tom Rennie, which I'm not sure if Tom Rennie ever gets replaced if you end up with a Wayne Gretzky on your team, and Tom Rennie doesn't have a losing record.
That's true. Right?
So
true.
I mean, it's possible. Maybe they go and see the Larry Robinson's available, and they go and get their hands on him. Make it back to the Cup final. They're now playing Capitals. 6 games, like you said, with an upstart, Mattias Ohlund helping on the back end. Post this, the Canucks still need a goaltender. I feel
that's true,
right? So
that's true.
So in the regular universe, they make the trade for a Felix Potvin.
Well, a little bit later, but I think, yeah.
Is that the route they go? Is that the route they go this time around? Because I think like this time you're getting diminishing returns from a Kirk McLean. You've realized that Corey Hirsch isn't your guy, so you need to get a goaltender for this squad. So
I think they get him earlier than they normally would have gotten him.
Right? Oh, okay. You get him Felix Potvin in his prime, not the moth-eaten version that showed up here.
Yeah, I think you get him because they traded for him in was it just before 2000, I think? I can't quite remember. This is what everyone else does. They do a quick Google. Felix Potvin, so he goes to Toronto, the Islanders. So he doesn't even come to Vancouver until 99, 2000. So a little ways. So in this case, we're saying that he comes in the 98. So he comes 97, 98. So 1, 2, 2.5 seasons early. So this isn't necessarily the prime Felix Potvin, but he's still not in the downswing, right?
Okay.
So we're still getting Felix Potvin. So now I kind of had this, but I'd like to hear how you turn this kind of bullet point. So they trade for Felix Potvin. So what's the trade that makes this happen? Because if he's a few years prior to him kind of falling off, then he'd still be valuable, right? So they'd have to give up something. And how does that all work out?
Yeah, because it's not going to be. So they make. Who was involved in the trade before? Do you remember?
Oh my goodness, Felix Potvin. This is we're not the most well-studied show, but that's okay. Canucks trade.
And what were his stats back then?
Oh man, so Potvin and second and third round draft picks were traded to the Canucks for Kevin Weeks, Dave Scatchard, and Bill McCult. Oh, baby. So the Canucks got a second and third pick with Potvin for Kevin Weeks, Scatchard, and McCult.
Yeah. So, I mean, back then, Potvin's still a workhorse at that point. He's still playing 74 games that year. He played for the Leafs, like a 315 goals against average. Anything around 3 around that time was like pretty solid, right? So, like just moving, guys on this roster, I'm looking at some of these names, like Mike Sillinger is there, Jyrki Lume is there, Russ Courtnall, Esa Tikkanen. I'm not sure. I mean, you're probably having to look at giving up like an additional pick, a fairly high pick to get your hands on a Felix Potvin, in addition to sending over another player. So maybe Mike Sillinger is the guy that makes his way back over there. Or maybe they have to give up a little more and they maybe have to trade a guy like, maybe they have to trade a guy like Jyrki. Maybe a 30-year-old Jyrki Lume has to make his way back.
Okay.
To Toronto with a Mike Sillinger to make that trade happen.
You think just that? You don't think they have to add anything else?
No, sorry, the pick too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're like, is it just a regular or what's going on there?
What's a regular?
Like is it like you and I fantasy football? Like,
let's just say like a second rounder.
Okay. So now
we'll say like Sillinger, their choice, Sillinger or Lume, and a second.
Okay. I like that. So
it's ridiculous. Who knows? I can't remember what trade projections in market was back then.
Yeah. So they continue to roll, right? So now this is actually like a Canucks powerhouse. Now Gretzky is tailing off, so I think he's out in 99, right? So he only gets a couple more years playing in the NHL. And yeah, he went out in 99, did he not? Pretty sure.
Gretzky, yeah, retired in 99.
Yeah. So at this point, the Canucks, instead of kind of tailing off and becoming basically the laughing stock and having to completely rebuild, they're actually a contending team. And essentially what that means is they're not going to be drafting the Sedins second and third overall, right? So they're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be deep in the playoffs and, finishing, with the draft pick, like towards the end, basically last couple picks. So that trade with Potvin keeps them going, and they have the second round pick. Now, what happens because
it's not Sillinger and a third?
Yeah, was it a third? And
let's say third. Yeah. Let's say third.
So what happens is because they don't draft the Sedins and they've traded away that pick because they thought, well, there's nothing in this draft. That pick to Toronto ends up being Steve Moore. So Steve Moore actually becomes part of the trade tree of the Vancouver Canucks. He doesn't go to Colorado. Remember, Marcus Naslin's still here. So we may still get the West Coast Express, just a different version of it. But Steve Moore,
he may still lower the boom on Naslin 1 year. We don't know.
We don't know.
But
I think that's pretty intriguing that I was kind of looking, I thought, what would be interesting? And I think bringing Steve Moore into this. So it actually in another universe, Steve Moore still factors in to the Vancouver Canucks, just in a different way. I think
Can you
that's
imagine this team skating around? So this is so the Canucks will have traded for Donald Brashear, would have been a move that they made.
Mhm.
We'd already talked like sort of in length about the fact that they'd made the move for Naslin.
Yeah.
A developing Adrian Aucoin at age 23 is still skating around on this roster, who had a very lengthy, long career after this.
Yeah, he did.
One of the wins that other organizations got back and out of trades from Vancouver, you're seeing guys like Dana Merzen slowly fall off. You're seeing the entrance of guys like Steve Stais and Scott Walker.
Jeff Sanderson.
Jeff Sanderson. I mean, that guy was an exciting play. Him and Russ Courtnall were exciting players back then, right? We didn't know what was going to come of those types of guys. I mean, Russ was a little older, but Esa Tikkanen was still there.
That's right.
With like just hordes of playoff experience and all this familiarity playing with a guy like Wayne, and then had already proven his mettle shutting down a guy like Pavel Bure in the finals, right? So
now you've got them all in the mix.
Yeah, we probably don't see now. It's possible that we don't see a Tikkanen because we know that was like a heavily influenced Messier trade. Brian Noonan's. We probably don't see Brian Noonan make his way on to the roster,
which is a shame.
Yeah, the Peter Zezels of the world, right? I mean, there's all sorts of guys on this roster that would have. I mean, could you imagine Donald Brashear, playing the Marty McSorley role? And riding Shuck. I mean, Brash had some skills too. Like, I don't think
I was gonna say, like, that's what we forget. Like, he wasn't a pushover. Like, he brought a lot of heaviness, but he had some talent too. And you're right, with a guy like Gretzky. So yeah, he's basically Cementhead 2.0.
And we know this is like definitely the alternate universe, because in this universe, like, Lonnie Bohannes pulls an Alex Burrows and ends up on a first line with Wayne Gretzky. Goes on to have 4 or 5 consecutive 30-goal seasons, establishes himself as a ultimate Vancouver Canucks, ends up in the Ring of Honor.
I was gonna say
just like Burrow. I mean, he basically becomes the Burrows of this. If you look on a guy on this roster who could do what Burrows did, and is that sort of ilk of player, I mean, it's Lonnie Bohannes, right? I mean,
full
this guy
stop.
He's a folklore legend in Vancouver, anyways.
Could you imagine though?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
so like if
it's so silly, but yeah.
Could you imagine that we look at it right now and think, man, Lonnie Bohannes? Like, we don't joke about it. He's in folklore as a Canucks legend.
Yeah, I mean, he's in there as the all name team. He's more established than a Harold Druken or a Burt Robertson. But he never quite popped. I mean, he had some fun cups of coffee in Toronto, I remember, later on, right? But that was that type of player that not the same skill set, but that was that type of player that Burrows was, that sort of really wasn't supposed to make it, and then would go on to have a long career in NHL, factoring in Canucks folklore and ultimately making the Ring of Honor on this ridiculous alternate universe. So this is less about what if we trade for Gretzky and more like, what did Lonnie Bohannes come?
The story of Lonnie Bohannes. Earmark. We're at the 33-minute mark. It's interesting, but you will look at some of the other trades. Obviously, the Linden trade happens, which nets Bertuzzi, right?
Which probably never happens in this sense, right? I mean, we don't.
Oh, and Brian McCabe and Jarkko Ruutu. So, which is wild in itself, because could you imagine you have Brian McCabe and Matthias Ohlund and Wayne Gretzky? So that 98 year is like an absolute gong show of talent.
Yeah, and then
it goes, is still there, by the way.
Yeah, it goes all the way back then, right? I mean, Vancouver becomes the new Toronto and pays Brian McCabe this exorbitant amount of money for him to play out his career in a minor league deal with a no movement clause, and he becomes forever hated. I mean, he still has the same history whether he ends up in Vancouver or Toronto, right?
It's just that different jersey at the end, right? Like that all finishes out the same, but it's just a different jersey. But that changes everything too, because now. Does Todd Bertuzzi still find his way onto this team? How does the Trevor Linden thing happen? Does Trevor get traded, or does he finish out his career at like full time as a Canuck?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so, right? I mean, I think what team wouldn't want a coveted number 2 center. I mean, it was obvious that writing was probably on the wall at that point, that Keenan probably did the right thing. I mean, it pains me to say it's my all-time favorite player, but Keenan probably did the right thing moving Linden for maximum assets at a point in his career when he was never going to match season totals like he did, right?
So maybe that does happen. Maybe it's Trevor that says, "Listen,
maybe it does. Yeah,
you guys have." Or
listen, Linda, listen.
Maybe that's what happens.
Maybe.
And we still get the West Coast Express. Wouldn't that be something?
Well, I mean, we make that trade, obviously,
then.
right? There's no twins, right? So what happens to the Twins in this scenario? They don't end. It's very, very likely, like 99.9% chance that they don't end up
together.
They go 1 and 2 in the draft, or they go 2 and 3 in the draft.
Yeah.
Depending on who's picking, but they don't get picked together. So what happens to them? We know how difficult their careers were when they first started for the first 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Right. Well, they take the time to build that chemistry and become the Twins that we know. Does that happen? Do they get the same? Do we get the same patience that other franchise might have given them as dedicated 2 and 3 draft picks that other franchises would have given them to develop? Do they ever develop into the players that they became now? I mean, it's interesting. I'm sure they train in the off season, but do they become, what were those other twins? Freaking Peter Ferrero and the other twins that I'm talking about?
Oh, no.
Oh man, yes. I'll have to look them up.
I see them, and now we may do this as one of the other Multiverse episodes, but I could see them both still happening. Like not together, but I could see them both being all-stars just in a different way. Because talent-wise, I mean, they proved it on their own, right? They did prove it on their own. Henrik and Daniel both got an Art Ross, right? And Henrik wins an MVP.
Yeah, one got it at Ross, one got it at the Emirates. Yeah, go ahead.
So, I mean, yeah, I think it's doable that they both get not to the pinnacle as the Twins, as a line. And maybe they do on contract number 3 or 2 or whatever, on their big deal they signed together. So I could still see it happening just down the line. But to get to that point where, I mean, I guess it's all the confidence too of being able to play up through the the ranks. But I mean, they're pretty solid guys, fit pretty much every single year. So I could still see them panning out, and maybe it happens in a different way, but maybe they come together and that's when things go crazy, where they finally get to play together. Like the Cardinals were able to, because they were pretty dangerous when the Cardinals were in Vancouver together.
They were. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. So
for like a minute. Yeah. This is Chris and Peter Ferrero. I'll send you the link. Getty Images. But they did it. These players, they ended up in Long Island together for like a little while, but I don't think they really did a whole lot. But
yeah, they're looking at each other like, we're gonna be so good. But were they? They were not.
Could be Pontus and Patrick Westerholm.
Anything's possible. Let's get into a quick little ad read from our good friends at Move Health. So we had Dr. John on last week. He gave us a nice little preview of what your injuries are going to look like in the springtime, what they're going to look like in the fall. Looks like we're getting into shoulder season. I myself am in glute season right now. I've been stretching out all day. Went to my folks' place and have been stretching out, doing some of the stretches that they've told me to do. I was doing the pool. It's not fun. Things are bad. I'm hoping to pitch next week. But what Move Health and Wellness does is they give you the full package. Now, whether you're in the Lower Mainland, you're in the Surrey or the South Surrey location, or you're in Kelowna, they've got it all. They have got you covered with chiropractors. They've got you with massage therapists, physiotherapists if you're down in the Lower Mainland. As we've said before, they've got counseling services. They've got where am I here? Kinesiology, cold laser therapy. Again, these are down in Lower Mainland. Most of these acupuncture, naturopathy, orthotics, bracing, all that sort of thing. In Kelowna, we've got the big 3 so far. We've got chiropractor. We've got registered massage therapy, which I actually am going to see Kaylee at the end of the month here. I'm definitely going to need some work now. Before it was just a booking. Now it's now there are reasons.
Now it's maintenance.
Now it is maintenance, and I'm sure it's not going to feel great because the last time I went there, she put me through the ringer. I'm thankful for it, but you're not going there to to get a relaxation massage. It's there to make sure that your body, works properly. Again, go see Dr. John as well on the chiropractor side. He's going to educate you, and I've been there. Ted, I'm not sure if you've worked with Dr. John at all, but when you go in there, he's going to educate you on what's going on with your body, the different motions that you're going through as far as all of your extremities. So he can basically teach you like, hey, this is what's going on. This is why you're getting the pains that you're getting. Here's how we're going to work on getting you back to a point where you were before. But these are the things you're going to have to do. And here's the game plan that we're going to do. So this isn't going to go, and he's not going to pop your back. He's not going to adjust you.
Not unless you want it.
Yeah, I mean, they'll do that. But as we've kind of learned, you're essentially just moving some gases around in your back and doesn't do a whole lot. You're going to get back to not quite a placebo effect, but almost, I guess, in a way. But he's going to get you to the point where you're actually going to be functioning and that you've actually learned something so that you know how to take care of your body. They've also got counseling services there. So, feel free to go in there and book something like that in there, because sometimes we all need a little bit of mental work as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. As the last 2 years have proven, the last 3 years have proven, sometimes we all need to just talk to somebody. Thankfully, I mean, for you and me, I get to talk to you every week, which is a blast. And sometimes I can get through my stuff just by having a chat on here. So I'm quite thankful for that. But if you don't happen to have a podcast, then maybe that's something that you need to get in. At Walmart, I love saying this, the parking's just phenomenal. You can park wherever you want. You're not going to be worrying, making sure that your parking's ran out or you're downtown or something. They got you covered there. Nice and clean inside there. They're inside the Jack Nathan Medical Center inside of the Walmart in Kelowna here. And you know what? They're very friendly. They've got direct billing. They've got the Jane app, which is super, super easy to use. Even I can use it. So go book your appointment. Everything's labeled out. It's all nice, color coded, all that. Very, very easy to figure out. And you know what? Just get back to feeling good. Get back to being able to do your sports. And maybe you're not a sports person. I mean, if you're listening to our show, you likely are. But maybe you're not a huge sports person and you do just need that work because you sit in a way that isn't very healthy, or maybe you've just decided to, or you've tweaked something in your back or your shoulder because you fell down the stairs, or you slipped on, wintertime's going to come, you slipped on some ice, grabbing your car or whatever. Things happen. Life happens. So go see Move Health and Wellness, and they will get you taken care of. One more thing, Ted. I'm not sure if you know this.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
So we're not talking about the playoffs yet, but we're about to get into draft season. Fellas, fantasy football draft season is right around the corner. CeeDee Lamb is good, but have you ever seen these beautiful balls? I can't believe that that's what I have to read. It's time to get your schnozzle looking right for the snake draft with the sponsors of today's show. Manscaped, the leaders in below the waist grooming. And as you've seen, my gorgeous six-pack, my stomach, have created a championship lineup with their Performance Package 4.0. Join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped DM and get ready for kickoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with code BBHV20. Follow the That Helps No One podcast, and you will definitely understand what's up with that. In the Performance Package 4.0, you're going to find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. Absolutely amazing on all parts of your body. As I said, if you want to take a look at my gorgeous six-pack, you'll know exactly. They've also got the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. And that thing is a dream. Get in there. Don't put it too far. Things get a little bit messy. Crop preserver, ball deodorant. You guys, this is like a godsend. This stuff's absolutely amazing, especially in Kelowna when it's going to be about 40 degrees. Again, next week, it's been 35s all week. This stuff is a lifesaver. The Crop Reviver toner just keeps everything feeling kind of fresh. The Performance Boxer Briefs. I've now got 2 pairs. Please tell me that you need another pair of these, folks, because they're great. And the Tool Shed, which holds everything nice in there. Tom Brady didn't come out of retirement for you to have hairy balls. So go over to Mans. Like, these reads are just unbelievable. Go to manscaped.com, code BBHV20. Get 20% off, free shipping. I've heard some interesting things about how these codes work. So maybe go on the website, click on whatever you're buying there. They've got a code on there. Tack in our code. See what happens. maybe some bonus things happen. Who knows? Check it out. Anyway, manscaped.com. Check it out. We'll thank you. They'll thank you. Everybody thanks you. Let's get back to Wayne Gretzky being a Vancouver Canuck. So there's a few things that I forgot to mention, Ted. So Wayne Gretzky comes. He's here for the 97-98 season. Do you remember the two big events that happened around that time in Vancouver? Oh, you're on mute, bud. Or did I mute you?
90.
Oh, there we go.
98 would have been Nagano. So
Nagano. There was one other thing.
Wayner and Linden would have played in that game.
Mm-hmm.
What else? What else
Likely
happened?
Burry was there too, right?
What else happened in 98? 98.
All-Star game.
Sure. Oh, there you go. The GM place.
Yep.
So GM place deal.
A GM place deal. So the Canucks get the All-Star game. They go to Nagano.
Those were like the green. Is it the green and the kind of like purpley?
They're purple and red,
maroon, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got the banner over there, but it doesn't matter. So Gretzky clearly is having a pretty stellar year going, because this is the year that I say they win the cup, because I'm Nostradamus.
Oh, they do win it. Nice.
So they do win. So he's having a pretty good season. Great footnote, right? Like, oh, they won the cup. Let's talk about something else. So he goes to Nagano. And what happens in Nagano? What was the big thing that happened in Nagano?
Well, I remember
something.
I remember us running into the Dominator, and that was tough. I remember there being a lot of backlash that Wayner was in the shootout that year.
No,
too.
Actually, he wasn't in the shootout.
Or what? Sorry, wasn't in the shootout that year too, right? I mean, that was like, yeah, that was a thing. I remember so badly pining for Rod Brind'Amour to be in the shootout because he had such a good history versus Hasek.
So if Gretzky's having a better year, does that
Gretzky's
even matter?
He's a shoe-in.
So do you think the tournament goes the same way, and they still go to a shootout, or do they actually?
I don't know. I think
or do we just chuck them in the shootout?
I have such mixed emotions about that team. That was when Team Canada started building teams with like, we're gonna put role players on this team. Like, we're gonna build our team with the best third liners to play on the best third line in the world, right? Yeah. Like,
how about have the best?
Why is Rob Zaminer on Team Canada? Give me a break, right? I mean, sorry,
worked out
Rob,
well for him.
Listening. I know you're
got a free trip to Nagano.
But yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know what? So I'm going to say, for the sake of the multiverse, I'm going to say that they don't win.
Okay.
In Nagano, because I think it was so much sweeter when we finally did win it. And I wouldn't want that to change. And that change probably doesn't happen because Nagano was such a disaster that they realized that we can't build teams like that. And we actually have to just take the best talent in the world to win these things.
Interesting.
Which is what they did from the rest of the way. So I'm going to say, although I want to say, obviously, I'm patriotic. I want my country to win.
And roses. Yeah.
But I think if it doesn't happen, then we probably maybe we're looking at Team Canada's down the road where they continue to not win because they continue to populate their third and fourth liners with the NHL's best third and fourth liners.
That's a good take. See, I was going glory mode and like kittens and
I mean, this is your story, so you should go whatever mode you want.
No,
you just asked me my thoughts on it.
I like I like your version better. So hockey, I think we've covered the Gretzky thing. I think we've really knocked that out of the park.
Big park knocker.
Something like that. But I mean, we're not just talking about, so if we've changed sports, we've changed hockey, there's going to be other things that change. So let's dial it back to the late 90s. Titanic comes out, right?
Oh,
Remember Titanic?
Oh yeah.
2 VHSs.
I've got just the take for the Titanic thing for sure.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if you've got one, go for it.
Well, I just feel like in this alternate universe, maybe it's not Leo.
Go on.
That actually is it Jack?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's not Leo that plays the lead in this one. But regardless, they still end up in the water.
Yeah.
And the boat still sinks. That's not going to change.
Yeah.
But maybe they just
the Titanic. We're not going that far back. Titanic still happens.
Yeah, but maybe for a hot minute, like they realize that there is enough room on that door for two people.
Oh. That's one way to look at it. So the writers realize
that there is enough room on this door for two people because God damn it, there is. It's a huge ass door. Why is he not on the? how could she be so selfish and not let him on the door? I don't know,
Wow.
man. That's my take. Alternate universe, he gets on the door.
He gets on the. Oh. See, so my alternate universe was that they put Keanu in the role.
Well, Keanu, I mean, he would have known all along, native Hawaiian,
Like,
that he needed to get out of the water. Like, bitch, move over. There's room on this door.
Trust me, I've seen this play out. There's enough room. It's a big enough door. Have you seen this boat? The doors are huge.
I'm pretty sure I could surf this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
The next rowboat, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, by the way, I was in Point Break in '96.
Yeah. My name means little wave.
So I've got I like that take. That's good. I wasn't thinking about the door. NSYNC never happens.
Oh, what a shame.
Well, the thing is, they still notice Justin Timberlake. Now, here's the crazy thing. Justin Timberlake gets an early start to superstardom. And wouldn't you know it, who's available? One of the lead stars of Friends, Jennifer Aniston, and him. They get together. Brad Pitt still does okay because it's Brad Pitt. He'll figure himself out. So I think that JT actually makes his way to superstardom. NSYNC never happens. Backstreet Boys reign supreme. 98 Degrees get a hot minute.
They get a bump, right?
They get a bit of a bump.
Becomes the new NSYNC.
So here's another one. Now we're going a little bit crazy here. Eagle Eye Cherry actually becomes huge for different reasons. They don't just save tonight.
Hit.
Yeah, they don't just save tonight. So they get featured on. Remember the Santana album?
Oh yeah, with the Rob Thomas and
So that ends up winning them multiple Grammys. Save tonight.
Everlast, was that the other guy?
Yeah, he was on there too. Chad Kroeger was on that album as well.
Was he? Oh, right.
Yeah. So Eagle Eye Cherry ends up being
Fly
huge.
to the moon and straight on to heaven. That one.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Save Tonight's actually their 10th biggest song after all this. So that, to us, that's the only song most of us will ever know. They end up hanging out with Rob Santana and it works out. And then I've got one more thing.
Does that mean that Matchbox 20 never breaks up then and they just keep making albums? Rob Thomas never embarks on a solo career?
I think he just kind of did that because they asked him to.
Okay.
It's probably just a favor, like, you want to come on the album? Yeah, man. It's a hot one, right? Yeah, Hot 100. That's what they're thinking. Smooth, right? Smooth. That was smooth. This is one that we're going to hit for a little bit more on the other sports side. So now we've talked bits and pieces. Like you did watch wrestling, right?
Yeah, I watched some wrestling back then.
So remember Goldberg?
Come on, man.
What am I?
Come on.
What am I, an idiot? So remember the huge
ain't nobody kids running around high school fucking spearing each other? Yeah.
That was cool.
I remember Goldberg.
Stone Cold Stunners, sharpshooters, stuff like that. Remember how he had like that monster win streak and that was like such a big deal? How he
I remember the win streak, yeah.
He'd do like the spears and whatever. So in this universe, he loses his 58th match and he ends the streak. He never hits superstardom. He's just like pretty good. That's it. That's the Goldberg. Yeah. It's very lackluster. Very lackluster. I mean, I don't know if you've got any other ones that maybe fit the bill on this. Like,
well, I'm just trying to think back on what was going on in 98.
I mean, the Offspring, they are pretty cool still. I mean, they're still pretty cool, kind of.
Yeah.
2018 Tiger Beat probably was phasing out a little bit. Tiger Beat. Remember Tiger Beat?
I do remember Tiger Beat, yeah.
PlayStation. So we would have still been on PlayStation 1 at that point.
Some NHL 98.
Yeah. So PlayStation 1, I don't know. You got to have something else.
Let me just Google some events that happened in 98.
I mean, I feel like I feel like we've got a lot of these in there, but there's just so much, right? Like when you start throwing in pop culture, it gets a little bit crazy because I mean, I had to dig deep for the whole NSYNC thing. Pop culture.
I think that like my favorite one is the Olympics one.
The Olympics?
Yeah.
Just in general? that they go to Nagano and don't win at all.
And don't win at all.
I think that is actually a pretty good story because now I guess we're just bitter in a different way because maybe the way, like almost like when they lost in Turin, right?
Yeah.
Like remember Turin, like they go there and that team just sucked. They just
it was bad.
They put together a team that everybody just thought like, oh well, they just put this, like you could almost tell. I mean, did you and I, we went to, did you end up going to any of those practices, the Team Canada ones in town?
I did. Yeah.
So I mean, it was cool.
For all I met like Vinny Lecavalier and like Jose Theodore and
Jovo was there. Brendan Morrison got
yeah. Well, Gretzky was there too.
Gretzky was there. My wife met him actually at that whole thing.
So
Bertuzzi got invited. Remember the Bertuzzi invite right after his suspension was lifted?
Right.
So that was there. I think Marty St. Louis was on that team. Who else was on there? There was
it was a fun team. They were starting to like, yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Patrice Bergeron. No, Patrice Bergeron wasn't there back then.
Sakic didn't come. Lemieux didn't come.
Right. But yeah, 98 was a big year. That was The Sopranos debuted on HBO.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's arguably considered one of the greatest shows of all time or series of all time. You had Family Guy debuted on Fox.
Oh man.
And then promptly got canceled. Yeah. And then was renewed. Yeah. And then just by popular demand, Eminem released Slim Shady LP. So that was a big one. Boy. The Matrix
dropped. That's a heavy hitter. Which one?
The Matrix.
Oh, that's one of my top 3.
Yeah, I remember I went to the Matrix when I first saw it, and I was like, that was the first time that I was like, my mind was broken.
Yeah.
Like,
we need guns.
Am I in the Matrix here? Like, what's?
Yeah, it made you think. Hey,
nobody asked me if I wanted to take the blue pill. So yeah, that's
Advil cold and flu. I'll take it. Yeah. I will take that pill mainly because I believe I need to, not because I want to figure out a different way. Google was founded in 98. Hey.
Oh, they're saying all those things that I said happened in 99. That's okay too.
Lugal, remember Lugal?
Lugal, yeah, some hot tub time machine. Yeah, that's the perfect what if, right?
Yeah, exactly. Lugal, what happens? Well, it's called Lugal instead. Wow, I think we're reaching at this point.
Yeah,
I feel like it
was a fun one though.
So we've got a couple more. I decided we would do 3 of these, and this was the first one. I felt there was a lot of substance to Wayne Gretzky being a Vancouver Canuck. We've got 2 more. I think we're going to do kind of basically what would happen if there's a few things that change, maybe in the Sedin era, or if that doesn't happen. Or and we were looking at another one too. I can't remember. Were we doing like if the Kluche goal doesn't happen? I know that was something we talked about.
I mean, like there's a bunch of small ones that take place, right?
Yeah.
Like, what happens in that year for the remainder of the year if the Kluche goal doesn't happen? Like what if leading up to the trade deadline during the Canucks Cup run, they actually make a trade and we're able to move Raymond Ballard in a second? Who do they get?
Oh, I forgot it. Okay, that needs to be.
Who do they get for Raymond Ballard in a second?
I like it. Maybe
that might be a fun one.
Yeah, I like that. So we may have to cover that. That one actually, I think that has wheels.
Yeah. What if Luongo doesn't pump Tim Thomas's tires?
In conjunction with the Raymond Ballard. I think both of those need to coexist as an event. Otherwise,
I mean, somewhere in an alternate universe, there's a Sharks podcast. And they're talking to themselves saying, what if the puck didn't hit the stanchion?
We lose in 6. we lose in 6 instead of 5.
They had that video of Thornton talking to the ref.
Yeah.
Next to Sedin, like pointing to where he thought the play was happening. He kept sticking his finger in Sedin's nose.
Oh.
It was like Henrik's face. He kept sticking his finger in his face. And then he's like whacking his finger when he just keeps putting it back in his face. It's just hilarious.
Joe Thornton's a pretty funny guy.
Such a shithead. I just love it.
He's a pretty funny
guy. If I
guy.
scored 5 goals, I'd be walking around the ice with my dick out.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason Botchford, for capturing that moment. Thank you so much. Yeah. This has been a fun one, man. And being that there is absolutely nothing to talk about in Canucks land, I feel that this has got legs, and this was a lot of fun to do because we covered something that we've all talked about. We've all thought, well, what if they actually got Gretzky? And having gone down that road, there's actually a lot of things that end up potentially trickling down. So kind of neat. I'd like to find out one day, maybe Loki and you and I can hang out and we'll figure out this multiverse altogether. We've got, I know next week we're not doing a Thursday episode because we're doing a Tuesday episode. I'm not sure if we're going to live stream that one, but I promise you it will be worth it. We're not releasing the guest until we've got everything finally confirmed and whatever. But it's going to be an absolute blockbuster show. Guaranteed. Ted, I mean, without saying, like, this is going to be a great show.
It's going to be fun. It'll be a fun one.
I'm excited.
I know you're wrapping it up, so I'll leave you with a quick question that, say you're Doctor Strange and you have access to the multiverse. You're able to move in between the two of them and see both timelines.
Mm-hmm.
And you can only choose one. Are you choosing the timeline where Gretzky becomes a Canuck and they ultimately win the Stanley Cup?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you choosing the timeline where the Canucks eventually wind down the road of Sedin history and you get to witness those whole careers play out in Vancouver entirety? No win happens, though.
I'd take the cup.
You take the cup?
Yeah. If I get everything else the same, I take the cup. Because you know what? There are so many other players that have had great careers that I would have loved to have been Canucks. And maybe there's an alternate universe where we get Brad Marchand or we get, we win the Sidney Crosby sweepstakes, instead of getting the 10th pick. Like there are so many, or McDavid or what, like there are so many of those lotteries that
where Lonnie Bahamas becomes Alex Burrows. Man, I was just looking at his stats.
Oh, geez, he went there again. That's awesome.
Jeez, yeah. I was just checking out his stats, just because we were talking about us. So he had 22 points in 36 games that one year. In his final year in the WHL, playing for the Portland Winterhawks, he had 152 points.
Where did it all go wrong?
The previous year, he had played 27 games, had 37 points. Like the guy just exploded. He just went off. So I'm sure it was his 20-year-old season, but whatever. That is bonkers. That's just.
Could you imagine though? Yeah. Could you imagine just coming we got to get a hold of this guy. He's gonna be. We got to get him on the show somehow. Lonnie Bahamas.
Yeah.
I'm gonna reach out. I'm gonna figure out. I think that needs to happen. That's an interesting question, but I'd take the Gretzky for sure. If it meant, again, based on this, if it meant a cup, to me,
that's all that matters.
Again, because we'd never know then otherwise, right? We would know that the Canucks won the Stanley Cup and everything was amazing, and we don't have to worry about everything else that's happened because we wouldn't have to have relied on Roberto Luongo or the Sedin runner, Ryan Kessler, or all those things. We would have had the glory before 2000. And Y2K would have hit totally different. It would have. I promise you. I wouldn't have been driving my buddies, after they've had some drinks and I was DDing as it went to the year 2000. I wouldn't have been tobogganing at midnight. I would have been like, man, the Canucks won the Stanley Cup. Like, bro, that was 2 years ago. And I would still be saying it because it would be true. So,
yeah, I'm glad you picked that. That's the whole fly forever, right?
Yeah, they do. Like that's the one thing, right? Like you live that for eternity. And because it's relevant enough. I mean, look at Colorado just finally won again. And then we just say they won again. They already had two. But look how fresh that feels. At least you can say you've won. The Canucks have been close twice. They've been close twice. Yeah. They've been there 3 times. So, I don't know. I take a cup win every single day of the week. So, that's how I feel. Everybody, this is the PP1 Podcast, as I said, on the Dean Blundell Network, partnered with Move Health and Wellness. If you saw, I've got one more of the mint hoodies with pink on it. It's a medium. I sold both larges already. We've got the black ones coming as well, the mint with the black. hit us up if you want one of those. They are going to go like hotcakes, and I promise you will be wearing them every single day in the fall, whether you're going to a hockey game, to a campfire, whatever. They're absolutely comfortable. Ted, you can vouch for that, as can I. Plus, you look good in them. Go to our Spreadshirt shop, get one of these cool coffee mugs with our like neon lights logo. Ted's got a camper one, or camping one. It's pretty sweet too. Only comes in white, but looks pretty jazzy. This has been a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you coming by. Stay tuned for Tuesday when we have one of the best guests we have had ever. Again, Dixon Ward, you're a beauty too, so we're never going to discount you.